The best birthday present you could give me would be to never contact me again. The words hung in the sudden silence of Linnea's lavish apartment. 30 guests froze mid-conversation, champagne flutes suspended in mid-air. My daughter stood before me, 28 today, wearing a crimson dress that matched the flush creeping up her neck. The small gift-wrapped box in my outstretched hand seemed to shrink between us. "I mean it, Dad," she continued, voice steadier now, gaining confidence from my stunned silence. "Your constant questions, your disapproving looks, your little surprise visits to my clients, I'm done with your suspicions. Just go. That's all I want for my birthday." Our eyes locked. Behind her practiced confidence, something flickered. Was it fear? Guilt? For a heartbeat, I glimpsed my little girl again, the one who used to climb into my lap during thunderstorms. I slowly withdrew my hand, tucking the unwanted gift, a restored music box that played her childhood lullaby, into my jacket pocket. The weight of it seemed to pull me down as surely as the weight in my chest. "If that's what you want, Linnea," I said softly, my voice barely carrying across the 3 feet between us, "then that's what you'll get." I turned and walked toward the door, my back straight despite my 68 years. Behind me, I heard her nervous laugh, the forced lightness as she told her guests, "Well, that's one problem solved. Who needs another drink?" As I closed the door behind me, I checked my watch. The countdown had begun. For those who found themselves wrapped in this story, hit subscribe now. The truth of what happens when love and justice collide is just beginning to unfold. Like this video if you've ever had to make an impossible choice, and comment below with what you would have done in my situation. Now, let me tell you who I am and how things came to such a breaking point. My name is Thaddeus Mills. Thad. To the few friends I've kept since retiring from the railroad 5 years ago. For 43 years, I guided trains across this country, moving people and cargo through darkness and daylight, through storms and clear skies. Reliable, steady, precise. Those words defined both my career and my approach to fatherhood after my wife, Evelyn, died of pancreatic cancer when Linnea was 16. The night after Evelyn's funeral, I found Linnea sitting on our back porch swing, her eyes swollen from crying. "Promise you won't leave me too," she'd whispered. I held her close, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo, 2-part. The same brand Evelyn had always bought her. "Wild horses couldn't drag me away," I promised. For 12 years, I kept that promise. I attended every play, every award ceremony. I listened to heartbreak stories about college boyfriends. I helped her move into her first apartment, hanging curtains and assembling furniture until my arthritic knees screamed in protest. We had Sunday dinners without fail, even when she moved an hour away to start her business. Senior Companions Plus, she called it. A service matching compassionate caregivers with elderly folks who needed companionship. Medication reminders. Transportation to appointments. The kind of help that keeps seniors independent. I was inspired by how you cared for Mom, she told me when she launched it 3 years ago. Pride had swelled in my chest. My daughter, taking her own pain and transforming it into purpose. The business grew quickly. Within 6 months, Linnea had hired 10 employees. Within a year, she'd expanded to 3 neighboring counties. The photographs on her company website showed smiling seniors playing cards, walking in parks, laughing over tea with attentive companions. I noticed the changes gradually. The modest Toyota she'd driven since college was replaced by a sleek German import. Her simple 1-bedroom apartment became a downtown penthouse, with floor-to-ceiling windows, cashmere sweaters, weekend trips to coastal resorts. When I asked about this sudden prosperity, she laughed. "Dad, I identified a massive market need. We're overwhelmed with demand. Plus, I've made some smart investments." I wanted to believe her. More than anything, I wanted to believe. Then came the call from Willow Grove Retirement Community. The manager, Phyllis, sounded worried. "Mr. Mills, I know your daughter works with Mrs. Winters, and we're concerned. Her rent hasn't been paid in 2 months, and no one's seen her in weeks. Your daughter won't return our calls. Byther, Althea Winters, 87, widow of a history professor, birdwatcher, makes peach cobbler that tastes like summer sunshine, always wore a blue scarf pinned with a silver chickadee brooch. Mrs. Winters decided to move closer to her niece in Arizona," Linnea explained when I asked. "It happened quickly. Her memory was deteriorating, and she needed more care than independent living could provide. Did she leave a forwarding address? Her friends at Willow Grove are worried." Linnea's eyes narrowed slightly. "I'll look for it. But Dad, you know how disorganized seniors can be during transitions. It might take some time." That night, I called every Winters in Arizona. None had an aunt named Althea recently moved from our state. The pit in my stomach grew heavier when I visited another of Linnea's clients, Otto Pratt, and found his apartment empty. The neighbor said he'd moved to a nursing home, somewhere up north, 2 weeks earlier. Otto had never mentioned moving plans during our chess game the month before. In fact, he'd been repainting his kitchen, looking forward to his grandchildren's summer visit. I began keeping notes. Names, dates, patterns. 3 more seniors disappeared over the next 2 months. All had worked with Linnea's company. All had substantial retirement savings, according to the gossip at their former residences. All had seemingly moved away without telling close friends or neighbors. I waited outside my daughter's office one evening, watched her employees leave. When the lights dimmed, I used the key she'd given me for emergencies and slipped inside. What kind of father spies on his child? The desperate kind. The kind who smells smoke and needs to find the fire. In her filing cabinet, hidden behind tax documents, I found a folder labeled Transitions. Inside, photocopies of powers of attorney, quitclaim deeds, beneficiary changes, bank transfer authorizations, all with shaky signatures from names I recognized, her clients, all transferring assets to the same LLC. Accompanying these were medical records showing dementia diagnoses and cognitive evaluations, dated after the financial documents were signed. My hands trembled as I photographed everything with my phone. Even then, I clung to hope. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe these seniors had wanted her to manage their affairs. Maybe the timing of those medical records was coincidental. The next morning, I visited Dr. Lowell, who had supposedly signed those cognitive evaluations. His receptionist looked confused. "Dr. Lowell retired to Florida 2 years ago. We've never had these patients in our practice." The forgeries, the disappeared seniors, the sudden wealth. The puzzle pieces formed a picture too terrible to acknowledge. My beautiful daughter, who'd once nursed injured birds back to health, who'd wept over her mother's grave, was systematically targeting vulnerable elderly people, gaining their trust, isolating them from friends and family, forging documents, draining their accounts, and doing what with the seniors themselves? I couldn't go to the police with suspicions and photograph documents obtained through breaking and entering. I needed more. I needed certainty. I needed to be wrong. "Dad, you're getting paranoid in your old age," Linnea said when I casually asked about Mrs. Winters again. Her laugh didn't reach her eyes. "I told you. She moved to be with family. I'm worried about you, honestly. Maybe you should see someone about these conspiracy theories you're developing." 2 days later, I received a certified letter. My daughter had scheduled a neurological evaluation for me. The referral mentioned increasing paranoia and possible early onset dementia. It was a warning shot. "Cross me, and I'll have you declared incompetent." I canceled the appointment and drove 3 hours to Crescent Shadows Care Center, a facility I'd found listed as the destination for one of the transitioned seniors. The place stood isolated at the end of a rutted country road, a grim cinder-block building with barred windows. Not the kind of place anyone with choices would choose. The indifferent receptionist wouldn't confirm if Otto lived there, citing privacy policies. As I turned to leave, defeated, an aide rushing through the lobby bumped my shoulder. "Sorry, sir," she mumbled, then paused, studying my face. "Wait, are you looking for someone?" "My friend Otto Pratt. I heard he might be here." She glanced around nervously. "Room 117. Visiting hours end at 4. Don't mention I told you." Otto didn't recognize me at first. Slumped in a wheelchair, gaunt and glassy-eyed, he stared at the muted television. The chessmaster's hands trembled with medication-induced tremors. His room smelled of urine and industrial cleaner. "Otto," I said gently, kneeling despite my bad knees. "It's Thad, Linnea's father." His unfocused eyes slowly cleared. "Thad?" he whispered. "Did you bring my grandchildren?" My chest tightened. "Otto, what happened? How did you end up here?" His face crumpled. "She said I needed help. Just temporary. Had to sign some papers for the good facility. Then they brought me here instead. They take all my calls. Keep me sleepy. Say, my money's gone." I gripped his hand. "I'm going to help you, Otto. I promise." As I stood to leave, he clutched my sleeve. "The others?" he rasped. "Find the others." Back in my car, I sobbed like I hadn't since Evelyn died. Then I made a call I should have made months earlier. "This is Detective Inez Torres," answered a firm voice. "My name is Thaddeus Mills," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I need to report a crime, several crimes, and the person committing them is my daughter." The meeting with Detective Torres lasted 4 hours. In a small room at the police station, I laid out everything: the missing seniors, the forged documents, Otto's condition, the unexplained wealth. "Why did you wait so long to come forward?" she asked, her dark eyes studying me with neither judgment nor sympathy. "Because until yesterday, I was still hoping for another explanation," I answered truthfully. "And because she's my daughter, the only family I have left." Torres nodded once. "I understand loyalty, Mr. Mills, but these victims have families too. People wondering where they went, why they stopped calling." She assigned me a victim advocate, a gentle-voiced woman named Marigold who brought me tea and tissues while Torres made calls. The wheels of justice began turning, slowly at first. Subpoenas for financial records. Welfare checks at care facilities matching Linnea's paper trail. Interviews with former employees who'd quit because something felt off. "We need more," Torres told me a week later. "Your evidence points to financial exploitation, but we suspect worse based on the medical records you found. Those seniors are being drugged into compliance. Their lives are at stake. We need something definitive. Thanks for watching. We see you other." The solution came to me that night as I stared at my hearing aids on the bathroom counter. Most people assumed they were basic models. They weren't. After decades of railroad noise had damaged my hearing, I'd invested in top-of-the-line devices with Bluetooth capability, noise cancellation, and, most importantly, recording functionality for moments when I couldn't hear something clearly and needed to play it back. "I can get her to confess," I told Torres the next morning. "She thinks I'm technologically inept. She's careless around me, speaks freely. If I confront her with what I know, she'll either threaten me again or try to explain it away." Torres looked skeptical. "That's dangerous, Mr. Mills. If she suspects you're gathering evidence, ITA, so gay people evidence that follows 200 and self, IT. She won't hurt me," I said with more confidence than I felt. "She needs me to be the dotty old father who defends her if questions arise. Besides, she's too smart to commit violence herself." That's why the seniors disappear to places where neglect can do the work for her. After 3 days of preparation and legal consultation, I sat in Linnea's living room, my hearing aids recording every word as she poured us each a glass of wine. "I'm worried about you, Dad," she began, her voice honeyed with concern. "You've been acting strange lately. These wild accusations about my business. Not accusations," I corrected quietly. "Questions. Like why Otto Pratt is drugged and abandoned in a facility that should be condemned when his accounts show he could afford premium care for decades." The wine glass paused halfway to her lips. A flash of calculation crossed her face before settling back into practiced concern. "Otto chose that facility himself," she said smoothly. "His dementia was advancing rapidly. The premium places rejected his application. I have the paperwork." "Forged paperwork," I interrupted. "Just like Mrs. Winter's power of attorney. Just like the cognitive assessment supposedly signed by Dr. Lowell, who retired 2 years ago." Her smile tightened. "Dad, this is exactly why I scheduled that neurological workup. These conspiracy theories." "I visited Otto yesterday," I lied, watching her closely. "He's regaining lucidity now that his medication schedule has been disrupted. He remembers you bringing documents for him to sign. He remembers you promising the money was going into investments for his grandchildren's college fund." A pulse throbbed in her neck. "Otto has good days and bad days. Whatever he told you, he told me about the others, Linnea. The ones who didn't make it to care facilities. The ones who disappeared completely." Her face transformed then, beauty hardening into something predatory. She set down her wine glass with a sharp click. "You've been snooping through my office, going behind my back to talk to my clients, interfering in my business." Her voice dropped to a dangerous purr. "Tell me something, Dad. Who do you think people will believe? The devoted daughter who runs a respected senior care company? Or the aging father with failing memory who's bitter about his daughter's success?" She leaned forward, all pretense gone. "I could have you declared incompetent by the end of the week. One call to Dr. Kirsch, who's been very helpful with several of my clients. A few little pills in your coffee to make you disoriented during evaluation. You'd be in a facility before the month is out, signing over your house and pension to my care." Ice spread through my veins, but I forced myself to hold her gaze. "Why, Linnea? Your mother and I didn't raise you this way." She laughed. "Sound like breaking glass. Mom left us with nothing but medical debt. You worked yourself to exhaustion for railroad wages. I watched you struggle for every dollar, while useless old people sat on fortunes they weren't even using. Those useless old people earned that money. They have a right to. To what? Die with it? Leave it to ungrateful children who never visit? I provide a service, Dad. I make their final years easier while redirecting resources they don't need anymore. To yourself," I said softly. Her smile was chilling. "I earned it. Do you know how tedious it is listening to the same stories over and over, playing endless card games, pretending to care about their grandchildren's achievements? The money compensates me for that emotional labor. And the ones who disappear completely? What happens to them?" Something dark flickered across her face. "Some situations require final solutions, especially when family members start asking too many questions." My mouth went dry. "You're killing them." "I'm hastening the inevitable," she corrected, as casually as if discussing the weather. "A slightly adjusted medication here, an overlooked fall there. Nature takes its course, and their assets transfer according to the paperwork they've conveniently signed." She stood, smoothing her skirt. "This conversation is over. You have 2 choices, Dad. Support me publicly and keep your comfortable retirement, or continue this crusade and find yourself declared incompetent. Either way, you can't stop me. I've covered my tracks too well." I rose shakily to my feet. I just wanted to understand. Before your birthday next week, I have a gift for you, something your mother wanted you to have. I'll bring it to your party." Her face softened slightly at the mention of Evelyn. The manipulation worked. "Fine. But after the party, we settle this my way. No more interference." "No more interference," I agreed. Walking to my car, legs trembling with adrenaline and fear, I knew I had what Detective Torres needed. My daughter had just confessed to multiple murders on a recording clear enough to stand up in court. The woman I'd raised was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. That night, I sat in my kitchen looking through old photographs. Linnea learning to ride a bike. Linnea blowing out candles on her 10th birthday cake. Linnea in her graduation cap, arms slung around my shoulders. When had the change begun? Was there a moment I could have intervened? A warning sign I missed? The week before her birthday party, we prepared carefully. Police needed time to locate as many victims as possible. Financial forensics experts needed to trace the money trails. And I needed to prepare myself for the hardest role of my life, pretending everything was normal at her party. When the day came, I arrived with the small gift box containing her mother's restored music box. Linnea greeted me with a kiss on the cheek, playing the perfect daughter for her assembled guests, colleagues, friends, a few clients who still had money left to extract. I smiled and made small talk, while scanning the room for the most vulnerable seniors, memorizing their names to give to Torres later. Every laugh, every toast, every moment of pretending felt like swallowing broken glass. This woman who clinked champagne glasses and accepted birthday wishes had left Otto Pratt to waste away in squalor, had hastened the inevitable for others whose only crime was trusting her. When the moment came to present gifts, I approached with the small box. Before I could speak, Linnea raised her glass. "Before we continue, I want to thank my father for coming," she announced to the room. Despite our different perspectives on my career choices, nervous laughter rippled through the guests who sensed underlying tension without understanding its source. "Actually," she continued, her eyes locked on mine with unmistakable warning, "the best birthday present you could give me would be to never contact me again." The room fell silent. My cue in our final act had arrived. I pocketed the gift, nodded once, and walked out the door. In my car, I checked my watch and made the call we'd arranged. "It's done," I told Torres. "Everyone's still there. The recording from last week is in the glove compartment if you need it again. We're moving in now," she replied. "Go to the station as planned. Officer Chen will meet you." I drove away as police vehicles approached from the opposite direction, lights flashing but sirens silent. The last piece of our carefully coordinated plan falling into place. At the station, I watched through a glass partition as they brought her in an hour later, still wearing her birthday dress, makeup smeared with angry tears. When she spotted me, she lunged against the officers holding her arms. "Dad, tell them this is a mistake. Tell them." I turned away, her mother's music box heavy in my pocket. The evidence was overwhelming once police had access to search her properties. 3 seniors found alive but heavily sedated in a sealed basement apartment below her building, people reported missing months earlier. Financial records showing millions siphoned from dozens of victims. Prescription medications stolen from hospitals through an orderly she'd been dating. And most damning, a journal detailing her transition protocol for clients who had outlived their financial usefulness. The medical examiner eventually confirmed 14 deaths connected to her methodical overdosing scheme. 14 lives ended prematurely so my daughter could buy designer clothes and luxury vacations. At her arraignment, I sat in the back row. She turned once, eyes searching the crowd until she found me. The hatred in her gaze burned away any doubt that I'd made the right choice. I'd promised at her birthday party never to contact her again, and I've kept that promise. No visits, no letters, no calls. The prosecutors didn't need my testimony with the mountain of evidence they'd gathered. I attended every day of the trial in silence, watching justice unfold from the back row of the courtroom. On the day of sentencing, 14 consecutive life terms without possibility of parole, I finally brought myself to place her mother's music box on the evidence table. Inside was the only thing of real value: a handwritten letter from Evelyn to our daughter, written in her final days, expressing pride in the compassionate woman Linnea was becoming. The judge allowed me one statement before pronouncing sentence. I looked at my daughter one last time. "Your mother believed in the goodness of your heart until her last breath," I said, my voice steady despite the pain crushing my chest. "I kept believing long after the evidence told me otherwise. That was my failure as your father." Linnea showed no emotion as they led her away. The girl I'd raised had vanished long ago, replaced by a stranger wearing her face. Some call what I did revenge. I don't see it that way. Real revenge would have been letting her continue, watching from a distance as her crimes caught up with her, perhaps even taking satisfaction in her downfall. Instead, I chose the harder path: active intervention that guaranteed I would lose her forever, but might save others from her predation. After the trial, I established a foundation using my modest savings and pension. We help reconnect displaced seniors with their families and communities. We advocate for stricter oversight of senior care services. We teach the elderly and their families the warning signs of exploitation. We named it the Evelyn Mills Foundation. Because while Linnea lost her way, I need to believe my wife's compassion lives on through helping the vulnerable people our daughter victimized. Some nights, I still look at those old photographs and wonder where I went wrong. Other nights, I remind myself that evil can emerge even from the most loving homes. The hardest lesson of my life has been accepting that sometimes love means standing against those we love most when they've chosen darkness. If you've stayed with me through this painful story, perhaps you've faced impossible choices of your own. Hit subscribe if you believe in standing for what's right, even when it breaks your heart. Leave a comment about the hardest choice you've ever made for justice. And remember that true love sometimes means letting go, not out of revenge, but out of recognition that some bridges cannot be rebuilt once they've burned to ash.